to talk about a project. It's a fairly new project in its first year. It's funded by the European Commission. It's a Horizon 2020 project, an action research project. What I'm here to do is really to start a conversation. There's 2.5 more years to go in this project, so I'm really just here to say hi and to link up with this community and ask for your engagement in our project. So that's the main purpose. And the first way that I like to do that is if you at some point go to this link, if you write it down now, I'll give you some time to do so. I'm not in a rush. I'll give you some time to write this down, just as a first way of us gathering some of your thoughts and ideas around the work that we are doing, which I'll be introducing in a minute. So I'll give you 15 seconds to take note. So your participation would be very much appreciated. And I'm happy for you to do that whilst I'm speaking. Oh, there we are. No, it was the wrong direction, I think. So this is the name of our project. It's called Isooko. It comes from Kenya, Rwanda. It means fountain. What we are about, we're looking at what the digital contributions to peace education can be in Rwanda and Kenya. In Kenya, we're probably going to look at a bit wider at what can digital contributions to peace building be. So that is the general space we're exploring. We have found that there's not that much, say, evidence for things that work and things that don't work with regards to digital technologies and the impact they actually have on possibly people's empathy, personal responsibility, their human relationships. So we are exploring this space in this project. One of my colleagues is here with me. Thomas is sitting up there. But there are many other partners in the project. We're working in Rwanda with an organization called Aegis Trust, who run locally peace building and peace education programs. They run a lot of the memorials in Rwanda. Then we're working with Ushahidi, a crowdsourcing platform developed in Kenya. They are a technology partner on the project. We are working with a company called Dotsoft. They're based in Greece, a software development company. I'm from King's College London. I'm a researcher on the project. Thomas is from Humanity X at Leiden University. He's a facilitator and designer. We also work with people from Makerere University in Uganda, who are running education and training initiatives as part of the project. Thomas, have I forgotten anyone? No, that's everyone. Good. So those are the partners on the project. And Isooko, we have, as this often is the case, you come up with an idea, you get the money, and then you think, what's the project actually going to be about? And we have reconceptualized the project since we started, and now it is basically running in 3 themes. And this is the first one. So Isooko as a repository is going to be around this question: how can we use and contribute to what we already know and have, research, tech, guidelines, in the context of peace building and peace education. So we're looking at testing technologies in the context in which we work and see what is the difference they make. Do they work? Do they not work? Why do they not work? So those are the questions we're asking here, and we're trying to build up a bit of a repository around that. Thomas is also working on design guidelines about how can we go about designing technology in these spaces, and so there will be something in the repository down the line around design processes. So that's Isooko as a repository. And then there's Isooko as a platform. So we're actually going to be using the digital technologies that we already have access to, like the Ushahidi crowdsourcing platform. We also have access to bricks, which I'm not going to go into now, but they are that's hardware, rugged internet for remote communities. So Isooko as a platform is going to try to implement those technologies and deploy them and run long-term trials with these technologies and see the impact that they have in the communities in which they are being deployed. And then last but not least, there's Isooko as a process, which is what Thomas is leading us on. And so how do we facilitate engaging design processes in the context of reconciliation? So that's going to be another theme that we're working on. So there's 3 themes: repository, platform, and process. that we'll be going through for the next 2.5 years in Rwanda and Kenya. And there are different contexts, and there'll be different processes, there'll be different things we'll be looking at in these. What I like to do is share a couple of insights from our first workshops. So Thomas and I just came back from Rwanda on Saturday, where we ran our first design workshops with communities in schools. So we worked with teachers and school kids in 2 schools in Rwanda. And I think just relating back to the previous conversation, one of the things that we find is when we think about digital technology, we've got all these fancy ideas. But if we look at what people actually do that work in these contexts, we realize, so what does peace building mean for them, and what is it that they do with these kids? And it's quite simple things like we teach them to say please and thank you. We teach them to say sorry to each other. We teach them to consider the point of view of the other in the way that, you know, the schooling community works. And one of the things that we then asked ourselves is, okay, how would you support something like that with digital technology? How would you support people learning to say please and thank you? And people that work in those contexts, in the people we work with, find those are really the foundations in the ways that we treat each other that make all the difference in their communities. And they carry those behaviors back into their families, where those behaviors are not common. So as we just heard, there's, you know, traumatized parents that becoming even part of the genetic makeup of these kids. So how do we address these things in practice, and how can technology make a really meaningful contribution to that? What is the benefit of having technology in the first place if the people that we're working with say those are the things that change our communities? So those are the questions that we're exploring, and really going to a very practical level of, well, okay, so what do they do with the kids? So the design process leads us through this exploration, and I just wanted to make explicit through this example that what we're really going to do is go to this really practical level, and not, you know, start with a tech and then see, you know, how are we going to now make best use of what we got. It's really starting with these practices, and then see how can there be a meaningful contribution, and that contribution can be as easy as a daily reminder in the morning of saying, ask your kids that come to your class how they are, because the teacher said, look, that makes a huge difference in the way that they engage with us. In the morning we start them how they are, what happened since yesterday, were they beaten at home since yesterday, is there something we can do to engage with their parents around issues they face in their lives. So we're trying to really engage with them from where they're at, and the design process does that for us at the moment, and we'll be sharing all those lessons as we go along. So what I would like you to do is to get in touch with us, see if you're interested in any of these questions, in any of these 3 themes. If you're interested in this, get in touch. If you're interested in this, get in touch. If you're interested in this, get in touch. And you go here to do that. Thank you.